Welcome into the Spotlight Omaha podcast, where we take you around the city of Omaha, introduce you to local business owners, influential figures, and people who are making an impact on our community. We are brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. Pixel Fire Marketing is a locally owned, right here in Omaha marketing firm who specializes in website design, creating social media ads, and engaging your business online. Check out pixelfiremarketing.com for more details. What you guys do, and anybody that, and your website scrolling across the bottom of the page now, anybody that's been able to check out your guys' line of work is incredible. The overview drone shot that you guys did of Beaver Lake is incredible. Where does your passion for video come from, and why was it the right time to become your own business owner 5 years ago?
So the story of how I got into doing it is I kind of fell ass backwards into it.
Sure.
Always been pretty creative growing up, loved drawing, loved painting, doing all that stuff. And, you know, I always thought that doing video or photo looked really cool. I guess my passion came from, you know, I had just a GoPro 6. That's all I had. I was one of those typical GoPro owners where you buy it and it sits on the shelf and you don't actually do anything with it. Well, I guess 5 or 6 years ago, I went to Puerto Rico for like 10 days, kind of like backpacking through the waterfalls and doing all that. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to take that GoPro with me and turn it on and leave it on the whole time and see what comes of it. So I did and came back, taught myself editing software, and took about a video that would take me probably 30 minutes to make today, took me about 3 weeks because I was teaching myself how to do it, you know, and made a cool like minute and a half video that I didn't really plan on doing anything with. Showed it to my friends that I went to Puerto Rico with, and they're like, no, you have to post this. So posted it on Facebook, and that was the very first video I made. Within the first day or two of posting it, I got probably 5 or 6 requests to do professional video.
When does the aha moment happen for you to be able to think, hey, I can do this full time, I can do this as my career going forward?
I think it was that time. You know, I started a trucking business when I was 21 years old. I always wanted to work for myself. Just went the trucking route because it was something that, you know, kind of grew up around a little bit, knew a little bit about. So I did it, but, you know, I quickly learned within the first year of doing it, like, this is not what I want to do. This is not fulfilling to me.
Can I ask what it was? What was it about the trucking industry that made you realize it wasn't the right call for you?
It just sucked. Oh, yeah, it wasn't
fair enough.
Dude, I don't like working on shit, and you're always breaking stuff, and sitting in a truck all day long sucks, and you spend more money than you make sometimes, it feels like. And I had always been a creative person and wanted to go a creative route, and at the time that I owned the trucking business, I didn't know, you know, what does that look like? What does getting into a creative career look like? Is it graphic design of some sort? Is it illustration?
Was that the worst part for you, the lack of creativity?
Yes, definitely. Okay. I just didn't feel fulfilled. Like there was something missing big time that it was killing me. When I made that video, and I mean, I will be honest, like I was pretty proud of myself how it turned out. I was like, damn, this kind of looks like a lot of the travel videos that some of my favorite people on YouTube create. And once I put it out there, the response that I got, and when people started asking me like, hey, you know, could you, back then I was saying yes to weddings, but could you do my wedding? Could you make a promo video for my detailing business and all that stuff? That was the aha moment. That's when I was like,
there's a need.
Shit, I found it.
Yeah, there's a need.
And that was a very like overwhelming feeling.
I was still get that today?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you can tell when you light up about it. That's something that hasn't changed.
Man, I did a shoot a couple weeks ago where I was filming out of a little Cessna, wearing a parachute, filming an ag plane. And that was one of those situations, you know, hanging out the door of the plane filming. That was one of those times where I still get that like, holy shit, this is what I do for a living.
Yeah.
Feelings.
Were you able to enjoy that in the moment?
Yeah, big time.
Okay.
Big time. I remember it, Yeah, definitely in the moment. I was just laughing the whole time, having a great time because the ag pilot, I know him personally, and he's kind of nuts. And he was just doing all kinds of badass maneuvers just right next to us in the air. And when we landed on the ground, his wife was down there waiting. And the first thing she said when I hopped out of the plane, she's like, "You are grinning ear to ear." I'm like, I can't help it. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. I get paid to do this. It's insane.
I want to take a step back a minute because we were talking about the truck driving experience. And I think a lot of when people see successful business people, they see it on the internet and they see the end goal and we're successful in this route, but the journey's not necessarily there. The story's not necessarily told through a video when we're talking about highlights of life, right? Is there anything that you learned in the trucking experience that set you up for success in what you do from a business standpoint today?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, there is the aspect of learning by trial, not just what you want to do, what you don't want to do. So that was one of those deals where I found out, like, this is not what I want to do. And it's easy in that moment to be like, man, I'm just being a lazy turd.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm just complaining, But
see, I think that's so dangerous, though. I think getting into that mentality is such a dangerous slide because, you got to listen to yourself. Nobody knows you.
Absolutely.
Nobody knows you better than you, right? And one of the topics that comes up, and I know I mention this almost every episode, but one of the topics that comes up in this room a lot is fear and how do you get over it? And it's always a reason not to do something, right? And I think a lot of the times a voice in our head, the good one, it's one of those ones that you should listen to. Where if your body and your mind's telling you you're not supposed to be doing something, you're probably not.
I've always, if it's fear of doing something that you want to do, that's when you have to go for it. Because fear that I've learned in everything that I do, I mean, I might show on video that I'm very confident doing what I'm doing, but I still get nervous as shit.
Sure.
But I know that, fear in doing something that you want to do, man, that's your North Star. That's where you got to go.
Yeah.
And every time I've always learned that every time the more nervous you are or the more scared you are to do a pursuit,
You're supposed to be doing it.
you're supposed to be doing it. And the more nervous or scared that you are, the more reward you have at the end after you do it, the happier you are. And that's been my mentality with business and just stuff in life. Like when I started learning to skydive, it was the scariest thing ever. And
I've been skydiving once because I mean, you can only go skydiving until it doesn't work out for you, and I'm not willing to test that limit.
right, yeah, for sure. I've got a couple dozen solo jumps under my belt.
Very
which
cool.
Isn't very much, but I mean, it's a good example, anyways, of like that is like holy shit, I'm scared.
Yeah.
But then at the end, you're just like that was
the ground. I love the ground.
yeah. The ground is so nice.
Yeah. Not to focus on the negative here, but I think we've unpacked a couple things. You mentioned back when I used to do weddings, and you said that with a pretty big grin on your face. I'm assuming you don't do them anymore by that statement.
They are terrible.
Because walk us through that. What does that look like? Let me ask a question. Is it because it's not your creative vision? You're basically doing it through somebody else's lens?
It's not my creative vision, and it's just not. It's not my style. I guess I don't get a lot of reward and fulfillment out of it.
Okay.
And I don't really feel. I want to go do things where I can really test my creative boundaries. When you get into weddings, you will learn that you can present cool ideas to them and stuff, but it is a very cookie cutter style of. Or genre of,
here they are dancing. Here's some nice flowers.
They want every bride wants their video to look exactly like everybody else's, and it's just like there's no reward for me at the end of that.
Sure.
There's no, and it takes up so much time. It's like it's all day long.
You're editing an entire day. Yeah.
Yeah, you're editing you're there for an entire day, and it's a lot of the photographer is always busy, but the videographer, it's hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
The whole day, and it's just, and I'm not a big wedding goer in the first place.
Sure.
And I also I don't know these people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Zero connection. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no connection. There's no creative drive. It's just, I think it's really great. There's some people that really do like doing it and they make it work, and that's great for them. But I do think, if anybody out there listening is wanting to get into videography, if you do and you start advertising it, that's one of the first things that you're going to get asked to do. But I'm telling you, do it.
For the experience.
For the experience.
Yeah.
You're going out, you're getting experience, how to interact with people, how to direct people, just being on the shoot all day. You got to get that experience under your belt. When I started out, I wasn't saying no to anything. I was like, yep, I'll do it. Don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it.
Yeah, hanging out of an airplane, shooting another plane is a little bit different than getting John and Sarah to say "I do" 6 times.
That's exactly right. Yes, 100%.
We're catching up with Corey Jones, of Corey Jones Productions here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing inside the Pyramid Contractors Studio. Walk me through the decision portion from a business standpoint to not do weddings anymore, and was that difficult for you to walk away from?
To not do weddings anymore? No.
Okay,
that's very easy.
It's good money, right? But it
can absolutely be good money because, when you kind of figure out your rates for the time that you have to do it, spend shooting, and the time that you have to spend editing, like with whatever your rates are, it's going to be a good chunk of change for you. But I don't know. It's good money. But I guess I don't
just
remember.
Not worth the squeeze, maybe?
Not worth the squeeze to me necessarily. Sure. Like I kind of got to a point where I could be busy doing other things. I didn't really have to do it anymore.
Before we hit record, we started talking about some cool things that you have been doing. You're working with a local tree service and doing some stuff for people locally. What's something that maybe you haven't done or haven't done a lot of that you'd like to do more of or maybe do for the first time?
I would definitely say underwater video.
Oh, wow, okay.
So for 3 years now, I've had my open water scuba license.
Okay. Probably not getting a lot of mileage out of that in Nebraska.
No, not getting a lot of mileage out of that. I like to travel quite a bit. So, diving in Puerto Rico and in Mexico and Virgin Islands and stuff like that. I have like all the underwater equipment for my really nice cameras to do so. That's something that I would like to get into is doing, if we did a documentary on, regrowing coral or the sharks or whatever.
Where does that passion come from? The underwater stuff. Is there something that opened that up for you in life that made you passionate about it?
I've just always been into adventurous things. When I go,
I didn't gather that about you at all.
When I go on vacation, not that there's anything wrong with it, but I'm not a sit at the pool at the resort kind of guy. I want to go places I've never been. I want to hike to these waterfalls that nobody hikes to. I want to skydive and stuff like that. So I've always just been drawn to that kind of stuff. And the scuba thing is something that I'd always like. I knew people that had their scuba certification. I was always like, oh man, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And
I haven't known you very long. I've known you now for 13 minutes, but I have a feeling that you're going to give me an answer to this pretty quickly. Where's the dream vacation that you haven't been to yet? Oh, no. Okay. I think you had that off the top of your head.
It's hard. I used to do what everybody else in the world said, and I always said Dubai. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's
It'd be pretty cool to shoot.
Oh man, it would be so cool. I just think Southeast Asia somewhere. Probably top of my list. The one thing that I do like I haven't been to like super exotic countries and stuff like that, but like the one thing that I do like when I first stepped out of the little airport in Belize, like
the history.
It's so different.
Yep.
I love the feeling of like, holy shit, we're not in Nebraska anymore. Like it's such a cool feeling. And I think that, Southeast Asia, if you're going to Vietnam, Indonesia, something like that, you're really going to get...
You're in it.
You're in it. You're going to get that feeling. And I want to get that feeling. And it's also, I grew up snowmobiling in the mountains and doing stuff like that. I grew up going to cold weather vacations. I'm not into it.
How many bones have you broken?
One.
Wow. Okay.
Dirt bike.
Based on these stories, I figured we have a higher count.
Nope. Just one bone broken. Some severe burns and stuff like that. But yeah, not a lot. But I'm definitely I'm a warm weather vacationer now. So I think
I can't do the cold either, brother.
Yeah, anymore. I'm over it. But I think Southeast Asia is just very tropical. It's cool. Some of the best diving in the world. And it's just it's very foreign, and that's what draws me to it.
I'm a sports guy, so I'm sorry if this is a bad reference, but is there a Super Bowl of video shooting? Is there something that if you were able to shoot it, it's like that's the bucket list, that's that we've made it type moment?
I don't know that there. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if I can give you. There's a one thing.
Does
answer.
that make it cooler though? Because I mean, there's.
I think it
there's
does
nothing
make
to
it
chase because something's always. It's always a big deal then, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's. I kind of love having because I'm at a point in my business in my life right now where I'm like, oh, I do have the skill set and the resources to do this kind of shoot, and I have it to do this. So I'm kind of like going in a handful of different directions all the time, and I love chasing all of those. So I kind of have a lot going on at the same time. I don't necessarily have, I don't know if I could pick one.
Is there something about the job that you think you could get better at or you'd like to get better at then? If you've got all these skill sets in different areas, is there something that maybe is lacking or that you haven't necessarily been able to get your hands on yet?
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't, I'm not trying to say that I'm like the proest pro ever. I'm definitely not. One thing that I'm actually working on right now, and attempted my first like legit car commercial shoot last week. Didn't go well. So
feel obligated to tell us the brand of the car.
So it was they're actually like spec shoots that I'm doing for myself to show like, hey, I can do this kind of work. This isn't like your average lame, TV commercial type.
Look, it's a family driving down the street.
Yeah, it's the same stuff it's been since the 90s. It's not like that. It was with a Jeep back in these cool trails, doing it for Henry Motors in Plattsmouth. They let me use some of their vehicles to do it, but I think it was.
Why did it not go well?
I think I was just slightly in over my head a little bit.
Sure.
I should have been directing and not directing and shooting and directing the photographer and directing the behind the scenes guy. And I started too late. And it's definitely one of those situations where it's going to be very, very hard to do it all by myself. But I'm also the kind of person that I refuse to believe that I can't.
Yeah.
So
same.
This Monday, we're doing it again.
I mean, back to the wedding discussion. I mean, it's not knowing what you don't know, right? It's getting that experience and understanding the process along the way.
Yeah. I mean, you have to try it. You're not, this is what I've learned is this is kind of an industry where it's trial by fire. You can sit and watch all the YouTube videos you want, but that doesn't mean shit.
Yeah, doing it and watching is two different things.
You just gotta jump in and do it. And I'm not afraid to just do it. I may be nervous and be like, man, I kind of got all these people duped into thinking I really know what I'm doing, but I don't. But I'm going to figure it out.
A lot of times, being professional just means you're better at Googling something than the other guy.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
We often ask this question. I think it's more prevalent to your industry and your business. How does technology kind of dictate the way you're able to do business on a day-to-day basis? We've talked about drones a little bit. We haven't really even got into it very much. That's obviously something that's new and innovative, and people are asking more for it. It feels like a new camera comes out every 4 minutes. There's probably been 3 new ones that have dropped since we started this podcast.
Yeah, that's no shit.
How does technology kind of dictate the way you do things?
I was actually, it's kind of funny. My buddy Jacob, he does the same thing I do, but he's been doing it longer than me.
Shout out to Jacob. We're not going to give you a free plug, but we'll say hi.
Shout out to Jacob. I'm not, I believe it or not, doing what I do. I'm not a techie person at all. I'm not one of those. That might be an area too where I think, like you asked, like where I need to get better.
Being more technological.
It's probably being a little more techie because a lot of.
So before I did this, I was a system administrator, and I haven't been able to get TVs to run during this podcast. So don't worry, you'll get there.
Oh yeah, good. There's a lot of people, and I'm not like disparaging them or talking shit on them or anything like that. But there's a lot of people that get in the business that I'm in, and they're gearheads.
Over techie.
They're very techie. I think they care a hell of a lot more about having the latest and greatest stuff rather than the
product on the screen.
The product itself. Like they'll kind of give you shit about like, well, you don't know what this setting is on your camera. It's like, I just shot 5 clips while you're sitting there dicking around with your lens. Like, I'm kind of like, get to
And
work.
it looks better, by the way.
Yeah, and it looks better. Like I just went and did it. I know enough about the gear to do what I need to do the way that I need to do it.
Sure.
It's not to say that like I don't know how to mess with the settings on my camera. I know everything that I need to know about it.
Yeah.
But that's it. I'm not sitting there and
Overanalyzing.
and drooling over the latest and greatest equipment because, to be honest with you, I don't care.
Sure.
It doesn't mean anything to me. I don't get my rocks off to like, did you see this new lens that came out?
1080p,
Like,
yeah.
is it going to improve my product? Yes or no? A noticeable difference? Yes or no?
Which is really
No.
the only important question.
Yeah, that's the only important question. Is it going to improve it a noticeable difference? No? Then I don't care. Like,
We're catching up with Corey Jones of Corey Jones Productions here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing inside the Pyramid Contractor Studio. We'll talk about growth. When we talk about advancing the company and the company getting bigger, and maybe it's involving more people to shoot and you being more of a director's role. What does growth over the next 4, 5, 6 years look like for Corey Jones Productions?
think I would definitely like to be in a position where I'm traveling more for what I do, kind of moving. So I started out doing a lot of nightlife events, concerts, stuff like that. Can't stand doing it anymore. And
Is that, and I don't know how old you are, but is that an older thing? Is that it's
Yeah,
maybe not have the appeal it used to anymore?
Well, it was, yeah, it just doesn't, I think it is, because like, I don't even, back when I started doing that, like, I was still like partying pretty hard.
Sure.
So it was fun because you go
Usually
to,
how you find yourself in those spaces.
yeah. So you go, you go to a concert, you go to a nightclub and you're doing video for them and they give you free bottle service and you can do whatever you want. That's great. That's fun. I haven't drank in a year. I don't do any of that anymore. Yeah. And so like the last thing that I want to do is go to a nightclub where I'm not getting paid enough money and listen to some drunk girl scream at me for an hour.
And
like
and ask to take a price cut for free alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of a nightmare too, getting into that scene, because it's, from what I've noticed when you're working with venues, is that they kind of treat it as like you should just kind of be happy to be here.
Uh-huh.
And like I am happy to be here, but this is also my business. So no, thank you.
Decimal move to the right in my bank account as well.
Yeah, exactly. So this isn't a hobby.
Yeah.
If you want to find somebody that's doing it for a hobby, then like, you're going to get hobby work. But you know, I moved out of that, moving more into, you know, high quality social media content for businesses and brands, documentary type work, short documentary. I'm not like talking necessarily Netflix series, but
Netflix, if you are watching, the website at the bottom of the screen is how you
yeah, boom, go there. But moving it more into the story form type content, you know, when you're doing concert stuff, it's a music video that somebody's going to forget about 5 seconds later. It doesn't resonate with people. I like creating.
So stop putting on your Facebook story because nobody cares. Sorry.
So moving more into story form, telling a story about somebody and having an emotional connection that lasts with people. That's what I like to create. And I would like to do a lot more of that, kind of traveling around doing it, and getting, you know, maybe getting less out of the main shooter role and the editor, and outsourcing editing, move more into directing, and, you know, kind of having more control over the whole situation.
Let's go the opposite direction. Then hop in a time machine with me. Go back in time with me 5 years ago. What is something you didn't know about the industry, or maybe even business as a whole, that you know today that you wish you knew then?
I think it's learning that the big goals and the big achievements are not some grandiose big party that you're going to get to at the end. It's really just the end of the journey. And to kind of, it took me a few years to realize that, like, it sounds trite and it sounds like, you know, everybody said it, but, you know, it is about like the journey along the way, enjoying that, because it's like I said, you find that you get to the end and you think it's going to be some giant fireworks show. It's not. It's just the end. Yeah. So in doing so, you can learn a lot more because you're being a little more in the moment when you're shooting or when you're editing or when you're planning. That when you're more present, you kind of learn more and learn a few more tips and tricks, and you can actually relax a little bit more and get a better product out of the deal. Yeah.
Well, on that note, if somebody's looking to get into videography or maybe start their own business, what's a piece of advice you'd give them?
Shoot. Just go shoot.
With a camera.
With the camera, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, whatever you're into, I guess.
Sure.
But no, one thing that I did, and I was talking about this to Chris, the guy that does behind the scenes video for me, because he's kind of getting into it too. I was like, just go shoot the dumbest shit. It doesn't matter. I remember I made one of the times that I like learned a big lesson in like color grading my footage was when I filmed myself going to the car wash.
Because?
Just to shoot something. Just to, and I was constantly making footage and like trying out different techniques with my editing and my shooting and everything. So I got the experience just through, shooting whatever I could possibly think of. It doesn't matter if you grab the camera and you film yourself cooking breakfast in the morning. If you can figure out lighting a little bit with it, or if you can figure out transitions, you're going to learn a lot along the way. Don't feel like the only time that you can shoot is when you're getting paid to do it, because if you do, it's going to take you a very long time to get the experience under your belt that you need.
Who's your ideal client?
Somebody's not a pain in the ass.
Sure.
I guess.
Is there anybody in particular you'd like to reach this video to reach from an industry standpoint?
Red Bull.
Sure.
Because I love the action sports.
They do a ton of cool stuff.
Yeah, I love doing, because that's something that I've done quite a bit of, is action sports stuff. Whether it's product testing for RPM Power Sports out in Rabbit Ears on snowmobiles, or the side-by-sides, or, skydiving.
Kind of a cool call
and
back
all
to
that.
the GoPro too, right?
Huh?
It's kind of a cool call back to the GoPro too, right? Like,
Oh,
kind of where you got your
definitely.
start at. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would love to shoot for them. If it's the airplane races or skydivers or what. I mean, just all the action sports stuff that they're into. Like, that's what gets me going, and I'd love to do that.
Is there anything about Corey Jones Productions that we haven't mentioned that people should know about?
I'm for hire.
There you go. All right. Well, head over to the website, Corey Jones Productions. It's scrolling.com. It's scrolling across the bottom of your screen now, man. I really appreciate you doing this. This is a fun conversation.
Yeah, thanks, man. I love doing these.
This has been the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing inside the Pyramid Contractor Studio. We'll see you back here Monday at 11. Hopefully my voice sounds better by then. Thanks to everybody that joined us, gave us a like, and followed us on social media today. We'll see you on Monday.